grappler. Like they wanted to keep doing that, and that was a very successful time for that territory during the territory days. And so it may be changing now. I'm not sure because I haven't been there, but I do know now with how huge Defy Wrestling has taken off. I know the surrounding areas or the surrounding promotions in Seattle with like 321 Battle and Project 42 and even Wrestle Sport, which I go to from time to time. They're starting to mold into what wrestling is now, like what SoCal is now, where everything's a fight. Things are a little bit quicker paced. And not just SoCal, but all of independent wrestling. Things are a lot more quicker paced. There's always a fight going on in the ring in some type of way. You're not seeing people die or be on the ground too long. And I like it because it's going to weed out the lazy wrestlers from the ones that actually want to do this for a living and actually want to do this because they love it. Because it's really easy to go out there and just lay around in the ring and get your ass beat. But if you do that now, it's really gonna stand out. And so I think that's gonna be a good thing because if you can't keep up with today's wrestling, then it's gonna weed you out. And I kind of like that because now it's becoming more like the work rate now is the highest level it's ever been, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes.
And so if you can't keep up, you're not going to survive. And that was kind of my biggest issue when I first came to SoCal, especially learning from Buddy Wayne and just wrestling. How long did I wrestle there? For however many years before I moved, I was so used to that old school style, the slower paced style, that when I came to SoCal, I was a body, yes, but I was also still working like the slower style, the old school style. And so I didn't really mesh well at first. And it took me a while to like realize, to have it click like, oh shit, like the work rate here is completely different than what I'm used to. So I either keep up so I can continue working here, or I'm going to fizzle out real fast because I'm not what the fans want to see.
Yeah.
And so I definitely feel like it was my 2-year anniversary living in SoCal a few weeks ago. So I feel like the first 6 months I was here, I was still doing that old school type of style where I was a little bit slower paced. But I definitely feel like in the last year and a half, and then especially in this last year, I've definitely upped my work rate. Like when I watch matches because I'm a big studier of my matches, and so when I watch matches I have now compared to like even my first 6 months in California, it's night and day. And so it was good learning that style when I lived in the Pacific Northwest, because then it gives me something to fall back on if I ever want to change things up, or if I want to work a slower paced match, if I have a longer match or something like that. But I do love the style of Southern California, and I do love what professional wrestling in itself, like the direction it's going. I think it's evolving in the best way possible.
Well, now I'm going to ask you, this is going to be kind of, this question you're going to answer, and then that should lead to my next question, which is, there's a faster paced style here in California, and I mean SoCal, in wrestling period, it seems like a lot more athleticism is showing, like you said. The lazy style's kind of there. But do you feel sometimes psychology is missing?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Ground Zero. There was a match between, I believe it was Eli and Andy Brown, and they had a great match. And of course, we know Eli and Andy can probably fly and do all this stuff. And then you had Mike Camden against Ray Rosas, and a lot of people said it was not as great as there was some excuses, because one was because it was placed on the card wrong, and then two was it was more psychology, and that's what they were pushing, more like the psychology because of the beard and all that. So then that brings up, that's why I'm asking, do you feel sometimes, and I'm not saying I didn't see the Andy Brown Eli, so I don't know if there was any ring psychology in there, but that's why I'm asking. Do you feel sometimes people forget to put psychology into the matches?
I do wish it was a bigger focus, because it's a lost art, I feel like, or it's becoming a lost art. There are guys here that do really well with it. Guys like Peter Avalon, great matches. Joey Ryan, great matches. But there's always psychology in those matches. Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky is probably the best, in my opinion, the best example of guy who can fucking work his ass off. Everyone knows, like, when he says he's the best, it's not just a nickname. Like, this dude can literally be considered one of the best going today. But you're never going to not have psychology in a Scorpio Sky match. But you're never going to leave a Scorpio Sky match saying it wasn't exciting or it wasn't action-packed. And I wish more, like, one of the best matches I've seen in the last 6 months, 7 months, whenever it happened, was Scorpio Sky versus Cody Rhodes from Wrestle Circus. Because I watched it on their live stream on Twitch.
Right.
And that was the best example of what today, quote-unquote, today's wrestling could be with great psychology. Because that match stood out on that card full of just... There's a whole bunch of matches on that card where it was like high-flying and athletic feats and things of that nature, which I liked in professional wrestling. But then you have Scorpio Sky versus Cody Rhodes, and they put all of that together with great psychology, and that was probably one of the best matches I've seen in a long time that I don't think a lot of people talk about. So when you ask me if people are forgetting psychology, I don't know if people are forgetting, but I do think it's not as big of a focus anymore. Because everyone wants Joe K on Twitter, at Joe K, to gift their crazy athletic feat, or they want those social media likes by doing a cool move. And I love cool moves, and I love getting those social media likes, but I also feel like there's more... The crowd will engage into the match more if you can bring them along for the ride and place some moves where they need to be placed. Because if you're doing moves just for the sake of moves, the crowd's popping because you did a move, and then they don't care anymore until you do the next big move. Then they don't care until you do the next big move. And by the time the end of the match happens, how much do they really care? Because they've seen like 20 big moves in your match. And then now they got the rest of the card to watch because you're match number one and you just went batshit WrestleMania on them. So,
and I think, Andy Brown, I've seen a couple of his matches, and I think he's one of those that will bring out a big spot in certain parts of the match. He has great psychology.
Andy Brown is one of the best. I don't know if he's a secret, but Andy Brown is fucking awesome.
Yes, he
is. I give Andy Brown such a hard time. We're in locker rooms together. Like, if outsiders were to like watch us interact, they would think we hate each other. But that's just our relationship. Like, we love each other, and Andy Brown is so good at professional wrestling.
I don't think he gets enough credit from. And this is not, and I'm not knocking Eli, because I'm sure, like I said, I didn't watch the match between Eli and Andy Brown, so I'm pretty sure it did have the ring psychology. I'm just saying, like, I asked some people what they felt went wrong with Mike Cannon and Ray Rosas. But I know, from Andy Brown, I don't think he gets enough credit for some of the matches he puts on.
Andy Brown is awesome, and I feel like he should be...
How is he not Wrestler of the Year every year?
I think he should be on every show there is to be on.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't watch either of those matches, but I was just speaking my opinion. I just do wish there was a little more focus on, or people weren't forgetting to put focus on psychology.
And here comes the next part of the question, which is, there has to be some psychology when you do a best out of series, and you had 3 great matches with a certain guy.
He's actually today, February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. This man is feeling 22.
Mr. Chris Bay.
Mr. Chris Bay. Happy birthday, Chris.
Happy birthday, Chris.
I didn't even know we were going to have a best of 3 series. So when that match was, I think I went through like 4 match. I was told 4 different matches before that first match happened. So it was May, June, and July at Maverick Pro. I was supposed to wrestle someone else on the May show. I think I was in a triple threat match. And then things got switched around, and then I got put in a tag team match. Things got switched around again, and then I was put in a singles match that might have been with Biagio. I'm not sure. And then like a few days before the show, they're like, all right, last change. It's going to be you and Chris. It was Chris Strong at the time. And I was like, and I knew who he was from Vegas because I worked at Future Stars of Wrestling in Vegas. So I knew I would have fun wrestling him. But I didn't know that first match would go like it would. Like, me and Chris I don't think anyone did. I think we were just 2 guys that were supposed to wrestle each other, and that was going to be it. Yeah. And then what Chris and I did in that very first match was, like, it got match number 5 of the month, I think, on SoCal Uncensored. And it was one of my favorite matches I had had up to that point. And after the match, the guy promoting the show told us that he really enjoyed the match. and he wanted to do two more matches with us. It's a best of 3 series, and we're like, okay, cool. And so there was me and Chris really put a lot of thought into those 3 matches. So a lot of the spots we did in the first match, a lot of the moments we did in the first match, we would reference in the second and third match. Like in the first match, I went off the top rope for an elbow drop, and Chris got up quick enough and caught me in a cutter. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
The second match, I went up to the top rope again to go for the elbow drop, but instead of going for the elbow drop, I hopped down into the ring while Chris went up to catch me for the cutter. So it was like me tricking him. We were like, oh, he caught me last time, I'm not going to let him catch me this time.
Right.
And then the match went on from that point. And I think the first 2 matches, Chris had me in the corner, and I would pick him up and double powerbomb him. And then in the third match, I go to powerbomb him, and he counters out of it because he knows this shit's not going to happen again. And gets out of it and counters with something. So, like, he and I put a lot of thought into all 3 of those matches. That was, when it comes to, like, changing how I was working, that was a pivotal moment in my SoCal career so far, because, like, those matches I really, really did care about, especially with a guy like Chris, who I love. He and I are boys, and like Chris is making a great name for himself now. Like, everything that's happening for Chris Bay, he completely deserves 100%, because that dude is a fucking rock star, works hard, I've never seen a more humble guy in my life, and everything. Like, he's on PCW Tough Luck coming up in a few weeks against Eli Everfly, Battle of the Young Guns.
It's gonna be a quick match. You can't even.
You blinked and you're going to miss something.
Exactly.
Chris won the Young Lions Cup with Gold Rush. He won the FSW No Limits Championship at No Escape a couple weeks ago. So anything Chris is doing or has done or will do, he completely deserves 100%. And I'm very happy that I got to play a part in his blossoming career, because a dude's a rock star. And those matches like really mean a lot to me just because of what he and I were able to accomplish together.
Now you have 2 different tag partners.
Yes.
Roy Isaacs, and then you have Davion.
My boy Royce.
Yeah.
And then I got my boy Davion.
Sorry.
I
Sorry,
didn't even hear what you said.
Sorry, I was thinking of David, okay? Myself.
David Otunga? I get called David Otunga all the time.
You know what? I was gonna kind of compare it to AR Fox. From,
AR Fox? I can see it. I
see
get called Drake all the time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can see it.
There was a time where I was working out in the gym, and some dude, I have no idea who this dude is, he walks up to me and shows me his phone or iPod or whatever. It's like, hey man, I'm listening to your new album. And I looked down, and it was a Drake album, and I just looked at him, because first of all, I hate it, because I'm not the biggest Drake fan. So when people call me Drake, I just don't like it. And so when he said that to me, I just looked at him with like the meanest look and just walked away. And I think I upset him, but I don't care. Because that was just like, dude, get the hell away from me with that shit right now.
You know what? It could be worse. I could botch. I was watching Celebrity Family Feud on Sunday.
You didn't tell me I look like Steve Harvey?
No.
I don't forget the name.
For your boy, let me get his name right again. How do we say it? How did I say it? Davion, but it's not.
Davion.
Yeah. I said it. Oh, okay. Well, we were watching Family Feud, and it was the MLB Hall of Famers or celebrities against the NBA. Mm-hmm. Steve Harvey knows. I know all the basketball players too. It's mostly all Lakers. Robert Horry. It was
Don't start talking old school Lakers.
Oh,
I don't fucking know.
Well, it was some of the old schools like James Worthy, Robert Horry, Muggsy was on there.
Okay.
I know you know Muggsy.
He was on Space Jam.
That's why. My son knew who he was. My son goes, ooh, he's old. B.J. Armstrong not B.J. Armstrong, Horace Grant from the Chicago Bulls. And then, so on the MLB you had, I don't know if you know baseball.
Baseball I don't watch.
But he went up to one player named Pedro Martinez, who is considered probably one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
It sounds familiar. Don't know who he is.
From the Boston Red Sox. So Steve Harvey goes, he doesn't mention anything about anybody.
Yeah.
Until he gets to Pedro Martinez. And he goes, hey folks, in case you don't know, he's like, Pedro Martinez is one of the greatest closers of all time. So you see the other baseball players, and they're looking at him like, "What the? Is he talking about?"